Good evening. It's 6 o'clock, so we'll call to order the City of Douglasville's City Council Legislative Work Session for today, which is September the 16th, 2021. Our invocation will be done by Pastor Gene Fields of One Church. After that, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by the Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller. Please stand for the invocation.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, first of all, we thank you for this day. Father, it's a gift from you, so it's been good. Whether we've perceived it as good or not, Father, it is good because it's from you. Father, I'm so thankful to be able to come before you in this presence. Father, I ask blessings on our mayor and our city council. Father, as I hold this mask in my hand, and Father, I watch on the news, and I've experienced even today, Father, our community and many in our community are still sick and with family or friends, and Father, we just ask protection over our community. Father, I ask special blessings on those frontline medical workers, Father, in our hospitals and just physicians and all those connected, Father, of taking care of our community. Father, give them extra strength and protection. Father, in that same vein, I ask protection on our first responders in our community. Father, again, people who have a passion for taking care and helping people. And Father, I just ask protection over them. Father, we again just thank you for this day and the chance that we get to come before you. And Father, I pray for your wisdom and your discernment in this room. And Father, most of all, I pray for your presence. In your holy name I pray. Amen.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem, for leading us in the pledge. And Pastor Fields, we appreciate the invocation and the blessing, and we'll continue to keep our first responders in our thoughts and prayers. I'd like to welcome you to the Douglasville City Council Legislative Work Session. This is a work session where agenda items are presented for discussion only, and no official action will be taken tonight. Official action will be taken on the items discussed this evening on next Monday at 6 p.m. at our City Council regular meeting. If the business you're here for is not listed as an agenda item, there will be time, ample time, under the agenda item comments from citizens and delegates section for you to discuss your business. There's just a few protocol issues I'd like to go over this evening, and then we'll get into the agenda that is printed. There are paper agendas outside on the desk, and or the agenda is above us with technology on the screen. I ask you that you would please keep your comments and presentations on a professional level, dealing with the facts that are important for this governing body to make our decisions. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be of a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. You will receive a warning from the chair, and if you deviate from this requirement, the second deviation will result in you discontinuing to speak. Only one person speaking at a time, please. Please do not applaud or react to speakers, speak to the audience, or carry on conversations. We ask that you would address all of your concerns to the chair of that committee when you are presenting. We're only required to accept public comments from public hearings, but we do have the comments from citizens and delegates section for you to discuss any other business that is not listed here but is germane to the city of Douglasville. If you have a cell phone or electronic device, we ask that you please put those in silent mode or turn those off until the meeting is over so there won't be any interruptions. Now, the agenda items will be handled as the following. The committee chairperson of that agenda will ask for a representative to come forward, and that person will do their presentation. Myself and council members will possibly ask questions to clarify so that will help us to make our decision next Monday. There is a maximum time frame of 20 minutes for those in favor of the item and 20 minutes for those in opposition, and each person has 5 minutes to speak. Each person, when you come forward, please there's a card that you should have filled out if you'd like to speak, and that speaker card is given to our city clerk, Ms. Vicki Acker, to my right, so that we'll have your information for the record. So when you come to the podium, give us your name and address, and then you have 5 minutes to address us. Tell us if you're for or against the item, and then we'd love to hear what you have to say. Only one person at a time, and there repeat performances just come one time, please. This is not a question and answer or a debate format. We're just here to hear the information and then make our decisions. If you have any printed material, please give that to the city clerk, and she will make copies and distribute it to the council members. That's a lot of talking, so hopefully everyone's on the same page, and we can start our meeting now. So we'll look at the agenda, and the first committee is, let me see, get this computer together. The first committee is Economic Development Committee, and that's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business under the Economic Development Committee at this time.
Thank you so much, sir. We'll move on then to Finance Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have one
Welcome.
item tonight under Finance.
Yes, sir.
Adopt a resolution approving and authorizing the issuance of revenue bonds of the Douglasville Convention and Conference Center Authority with respect to the downtown amphitheater project and the terms thereof, approving certain documents in that connection, including authorization for the mayor to sign an intergovernmental contract, a bond purchase agreement, a disclosure certificate, and a preliminary official statement with the authority and Raymond James and Associates Incorporated and related matters. Ms. Woodward and Ms. Callen will be handling this. Who will be speaking first?
I will, Chairman Adams.
Go ahead.
My name is Lynn Woodward. I am the staff attorney for the city of Douglasville. And thank you, Chairman Adams, because you pretty much presented this item for me. In addition to what you just read, this resolution would also authorize staff to do what is necessary to comply with the documents that we will request you all authorize the mayor to sign on Monday, and also do anything necessary to help with the issuance of the bond. I wanted to spend some time to kind of explain this project a little bit more. This is for a bond issuance, a revenue bond issuance by the Douglasville Convention and Conference Center Authority. And the revenue that the DCCCA will be receiving is pursuant to an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Douglasville. So the city of Douglasville will basically be paying DCCCA twice every year so that DCCCA can make their interest and principal payments for the bonds that mature and become due. The intergovernmental agreement also sets forth how the bond money will be used. For example, it will be used towards the construction of the amphitheater. It will be used towards the cost of preparing and planning, and it will be used towards the cost of preparing this particular bond issuance as well. And that is the main gist of the intergovernmental agreement. Another document that we will ask Madam Mayor to sign on Monday is a continuing disclosure certificate. The main purpose of that certificate is to help Raymond James to be compliant with federal and state securities laws. And also, this is important because it will update investors with material changes that the city has seen in an ongoing basis. It will require that the city provide annual reports with updated financial conditions and also report certain events that would be reflective of financial difficulties of the city, if any. And those are the main points of the disclosure certificate. Let's see. Oh, and there is also a preliminary official statement that is about 217 pages long. I highly recommend our elected officials to read that because it's got very good information. The first 60 pages has very good summary of what the city is about, what the DCCCA is about, and the demographics, the economics, the financial situations of the city, and it's all current. For example, if you ever wonder who pays the most property tax in the city of Douglasville, you will find out in the first 60 pages. The last 100 pages is the most current city financial statement, so I encourage you all to read that as well. There are the preliminary official statement, I believe, and Bill Camp, who is the representative from Raymond James, he might correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this preliminary statement was issued September 14th already, and it was issued to potential investors so that they can see how the city of Douglasville is doing and to make a decision as to whether or not our bonds are worth purchasing. And there's also the last item that Chairman Adams read was the bond purchase agreement between the city, the DCCCA, and Raymond James, and I will ask Mr. Camp to present on that item.
Good evening, Mr. Camp. If you would give us your name and address for the record.
Yes, sir. Bill Camp, 620 River Chase Ridge. I live in Sandy Springs, Georgia.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
And as usual, your staff is all over this and doing a good job. What's going to happen Monday, our firm is going to price bonds. Everything that's been going on up to this point is a pre-marketing effort to build interest and get folks interested in buying your bonds. So we'll have final numbers. We will have orders from real live investors, other people, and we'll get all those numbers to Ms. Woodward and your bond counsel team, and we'll send out final drafts of the bond resolution and intergovernmental contract in advance of the authorities meeting at 4 o'clock and your meeting at 6. Okay, so you will all see the final numbers. I'll be back. I'll say as little as you want me to say, but I'll give you a summary of the transaction. The bond purchase agreement is, if everybody's happy with the deal that we bring you, we'll buy the bonds from you all and then turn around and sell them to investors. That's our purchase agreement. That carries us through the closing date, which is going to be October the 19th. That's when we're going to put money in the construction fund and close the bond issue. There's some other legal matters that Lynn and the other legal team members are going to take care of called validation. They'll handle a proceeding in court where the judge blesses this transaction. So, and that's not unique to Douglasville. That's all bond issues in the state.
Thank you, Mr. Camp. Just while you're at the podium, if you don't mind, just for our citizens and for those watching on TV, our position as far as the bond market is concerned and our credit rating, it would seem to me we're in a very good position as far as timing. Can you just expound upon that just a moment, please?
Yes, sir. No, you said it right. There's several reasons this is a very good time. Historically, rates are very low. That's got to do with things going on in the marketplace. In addition to rates being very low, bond issuance is off, meaning there's not a lot of municipal entities that are borrowing at the level that they normally are. So you have a lot of dollars chasing a very precious commodity, and you're bringing something that's very, very highly rated. You're rated AA by Standard & Poor's. There's only 2 notches above you. So you have something that a lot of people want, and you're at the very high end of the spectrum of credit quality. So, and you've got us working for you. So all those things
ice
are
is the
lining
cake,
up in
I
your
assume.
favor.
I presume that ice is the cake then, is that correct? Well,
Yes, sir.
thank you for that information. I just wanted to make sure that our citizens were aware of the situation and what is going on in the bond market and with our credit rating. I think that is a testament to our staff and to the city manager and how things are handled from a financial standpoint. And I appreciate all the hard work that you and the staff have done to get us to this point. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing us.
Yes, sir. Ms. Callen, did you have, was Ms. Callen going to have anything to say or any presentation at all? Your name is on the agenda also, Ms. Karen. I don't want to leave you out.
I was going to introduce Bill, but
I'm sorry.
Marcia did, and Bill, y'all know Bill, so I think we're good.
I'm sorry, okay. I'll open the floor then for questions or comments, and I see that Madam Mayor has raised her hand first, so go ahead, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. You do such a wonderful job at being the finance chair as well. So you were giving accolades to the staff and to our bond counsel. I just did have a couple of questions, Mr. Campbell. The first one, what is the acronym DCCA that Ms.
That is
Woodward was?
the Douglasville Convention and Conference Center Authority.
How come I didn't know that? Douglasville, okay.
The building we're
this
in.
thing that we're in right now
Yes,
with
ma'am.
Jennifer.
the golf course,
Yes, sir.
and of course now the amphitheater are the projects that you've used this authority to, as a tool to accomplish.
Okay, is it the parking deck as well? Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out everything that's under DCCA. And then October 19th, you were saying is when everything is going to be issued?
That's right. You'll get money in the construction fund on that date.
Okay.
But
And
the
then just to-
numbers are final next Monday. In other words, nothing's going to change between next Monday and October 19th.
in October 19th. So even if the market goes differently, we're zeroed in, we're locked in at the prices that you receive on
Correct.
Monday?
That purchase agreement that Ms. Woodward was speaking on, that's our contract. We owe you that money on the 19th, whether we have other people's money to put in your account or our own.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, the other thing that Ms. Woodward mentioned, and I don't want to really extrapolate a whole lot of information. I don't know if I can read the 200 pages before next Monday, but she talked about overruns. Would that be construction overruns or weather, depending on weather, or does that make any difference in?
Well, you have, when we issue
A
when
contingency?
you sell the bonds, we're funding the expected costs of the project and a contingency.
Okay,
So there is some cushion factor in there, but the bond issue will give you a particular and fixed amount of money.
okay,
So if we go above contingency, other funds will be drawn on.
and
For
that would
instance,
have to
sales
be,
tax is one of those funds that you're intending to use some of that for this project.
and the city would be responsible for that?
Or,
Outside of the
or,
bond.
that's correct, or in theory, there could be an additional issuance, but
I think I can clear that up, Bill.
yes, ma'am.
Okay,
We are bonding out exactly what you all suggested that we do at the retreat. So we have not moved from that number. That does include, as Mr. Camp mentioned, a contingency, but as you know, we always build in a double contingency. So your SPLOS proceeds, as you have always set aside for parks, is going to provide for that contingency. You have a little over $1 million. I don't have the exact amount. I know Ms. Callen does, but if we do need those additional dollars, that will come from SPLOS, and that will exhaust your remainder of your parks SPLOS proceeds. We've kept that aside in your 2016 SPLOS for that purpose. We won't be going out to market for additional funds.
okay, because I know just materials, wood, steel, all of that, the cost for that, weather, contingent upon weather and all.
We have the bids in, so we're doing that simultaneously in the timing. We already know the number. We will present that to you at the next round of the council meetings. We're well within budget for what we're bonding out.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any others? Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, did you have a comment?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sure. I will say that only a lawyer would enjoy 275 pages of a contract
Or
in
an
her spare
accountant.
time, probably. But no offense. Just to clarify, too, because a lot of people, I think, don't understand how bonds work. And so when you say you're buying, you're the underwriter of the bond. So you essentially are providing the market for the bond, and then, which you then turn around and resell. So
That's right.
that's how you make your money, is obvious on the premium that you can.
We're not a bank. We want you to be very happy with the terms of the bond issue. And we're bringing other people's money into
And that way,
Douglasville.
the city doesn't have to worry about, whether or not the bonds get sold or not. You have to worry
Correct.
about it.
We have that. That's on us. That's sir.
Okay.
That's sir.
Just want to make sure folks understand how that works, so.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Others? Any other question or comment? Well, it sounds as though we may be well headed down the road to, I'm sure Mr. Davis will be happy to hear about this, of an amphitheater and a town green. And then
Yes,
when the
I
money is in
will,
the bank.
Mr. Chairman.
I cannot believe, Mr. Davis, you did not have a comment.
I did, but I thought I'd let everybody else talk and best say the best for the last, the best.
You
for
go
last.
ahead, sir.
Well, it's going on the 12th year, and the citizens, and this is what they asked for, and it's here, it's ready.
Let's do it, right?
Let's do it.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna hear some.
Thank you, Mr. Camp. If there's no other comment concerning that, we will take this up then on Monday night. Thank you all for all your work. Madam Mayor, that's all that we have under finance.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on then to item number 7, which is Housing and Community Affairs Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Berdanley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business under Housing and Community Affairs tonight.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We'll move on to Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
No business tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Personnel and Organization Committee, chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight in personnel and organization.
Thanks so much, Coach. We'll move on then to Planning and Development Committee, chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have 3 items tonight under planning and development.
Yes, sir.
The first one is to hold a public hearing and consider a request for a change in zoning from R2 Single Family Residential District to PUD Planned Unit Development District for 83.3 acres at the northeast intersection of Presley Mill Road and Timber Ridge Drive. It's in Land Lot 54, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 2. Application by the Revived Land Group, care of Neville Allison, Managing Partner, and Mr. Ryan Anderson is here tonight to present for the city.
Good evening. Ryan Anderson, Zoning Administrator, 6701 Church Street. This application proposes to rezone 83 acres located at Timber Ridge Road and Presley Mill Road from R2 Single Family Residential Detached to PUD Planned Unit Development. This rezoning will facilitate the development of a new 238-unit single-family residential community consisting of 3 variations in sizes: a 42-foot home, a 50-foot home, and a 60-foot wide single-family detached lots. The proposed overall site density for the 83-acre tract is approximately 2.83 units per acre. The site is designed so that the largest lots are located along the periphery of the site, closest to adjoining lot lines, and the smallest lots are located toward the center of the site. The proposed price points for the homes will range from approximately $320,000 to the low $400,000. The proposed development furthers the intent of the comprehensive plan. The proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan future land use designation for Regional Activity Center. PUD is a recommended land use under the Regional Activity Character Area. The PUD zoning classification replaced the former DCD zoning classification in the most recent UDO update. The surrounding land uses includes to the north 2 single-family detached residential developments that are zoned PUD. West of the subject property across Timber Ridge Road is a large, currently undeveloped parcel, zone R2, and also planned for a multifamily senior housing development. South and west of the subject property is Brighton Academy, a charter school, and Benton House, a senior living development. Also, south of the site is a small residential single-family detached development. The proposed project is congruent with one of the goals of the city's comprehensive plan regional activity character area, and that is to provide for varying densities of residential development. This development meets that goal by providing 2 or more differing densities of single-family residential living for the surrounding community. The applicant is taking vacant land, which has been undeveloped for decades, and developing single-family residences. The proposed project will add to the city's tax base. The proposed zoning amendment changes the existing zoning of R2 to a more specific PUD zoning for single-family residential use. The PUD zoning designation will allow the developer to build homes with similar R2 specifications. Furthermore, PUD will be the most optimal zone for the subject property because of the environmental and topographical issues associated with the site. And the developer will leave an abundance of land undisturbed. An R2 development would not be viable at this location because of the aforementioned conditions. The Planning Commission recommended approval of this application unanimously last night. If Mayor and Council decides to approve the proposed rezoning, staff recommends the following condition. Please note that these conditions were done in concert with the staff, the developer, and the local community. Want me to read them?
Yes, sir. Please do.
All right. The first condition, the site plan will be developed in general conformance to the site plan submitted to city staff dated July 19, 2021, based on final design with site topography and constraints. Minor modification to the plan may be approved with the consent of the city. A mandatory HOA will be established and set up by the builder to be taken over once the project is fully sold out. Number 3, the rental restriction for the HOA is to be capped at a maximum of 5% of the homes at all times. The minimum square footage of the homes is to be 1,800 square feet and up. Elevations are to be all cementous material and consist of a combination of brick, stone, shake, hardy panels, hardy plank, or real stucco. No vinyl siding or synthetic stucco is allowed on the homes. Elevations are to be in general conformance to elevations submitted to staff and presented to the Planning Commission. The frontage along Presley Mill Road will have a 6-foot high fence that will consist of brick columns every 75 feet and black aluminum fencing along the entire frontage of the site along Presley Mills. The colors of the fence are to match the color tones found along Presley Mill already existing. The property will be developed with a maximum of 232 single-family units. There will be a minimum of 57 detached lots that are 60 feet in width. The minimum lot size allowed in the development is 4,200 square foot and 42 in width for the single-family attached lots. All open space, setbacks, and lot dimensions are defined on the attached site plan dated July 19, 2021. The community will be developed with a clubhouse-style building for the pool area, a pool and common area for residents. Sidewalks will be located along both sides of the streets, internal to the site and along Presley Mill Road frontage. Number 12, there will be a 25-foot landscape replanted setback along the south and eastern borders with the neighbors. The project is to coordinate with the City of Douglasville Public Works Department on recommendations and improvements to the entrance of Presley Mill Road and the intersection of Presley Mill and Frank Lake. All lots will be set back at least 80 feet from Presley Mill Road. Right-of-way dedication along Presley Mill Road is to be provided for intersection improvements. That's it.
Mr. Anderson, thank you. I do want to make one note or ask one question. I believe I have a copy of all of these proposed conditions that have been contemplated and have been offered by the developer, and I understand a group of different homeowners associations in the area. But number 11, there's another sentence there at the end. This is what we have written here.
Yes,
I want to
there
make
is.
sure. Sidewalks are not required along Timber Ridge except south of the proposed access point and constructing south. No sidewalks are to be constructed down Timber Ridge on the north side of the access. Is that supposed to be a part of your presentation, or is this something that was added?
That's one of the conditions, but I didn't read that portion.
Okay.
I just read the first sentence.
But that
But-
is,
yeah,
that
but
does
that is a
address the
part.
sidewalk issue out on Timber Ridge?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you for that introduction. We will ask, of course, this being a public hearing, our mayor has already given us the ground rules for that, and we will then go into that portion of it, allowing the applicant to come forward and make their presentation, and then we will give time for both those speaking for and against this item. Please come forward, give us your name and address for the record, and we are ready to hear from you. Thank you.
Kenneth Wood, 350 Research Court, Peachtree Corners, Georgia. Okay, let me make sure this is same as last night. Let's see if we're going now. Awesome. So I've got a lot of history with the site, as we talked about last night. You know, we came before you guys with this site. It's been several years ago, probably two and a half years ago, and we met a lot of opposition in the neighborhood with some of the design, and I'll talk about that. And so what we really tried to do in coming back, as Neville and I started going through the plan, is to learn from what we heard and then come back with a superior plan, meet with the neighborhood, and really try to come to a consensus. And we believe that we have done that, and so I want to walk you through it. As you're looking at the site from a zoomed out view, the great thing about the site is the access. You know, it has easy access to Timber, it has easy access out to Presley, but Timber can take you up and get you to the access point to get onto the highway if you're going north, which skirts a lot of traffic from Presley. It also has, obviously, Timber that can take you down to the mall area, and so access for the site is really well. We performed a traffic study as well as a third-party traffic study was performed on the site. And that traffic study concluded that we were not adding significant traffic to the area based on our new plan being all single-family detached. Now, we have shown turn lanes on our plan to make sure that we are doing our part. It was not required in the traffic study, but we wanted to make sure we're able to clear those lanes, as well as there's some different items we talked about with Public Works in terms of the stop sign at our entrance out to Presley, and whether that wants to be a four-way or some other item, we're committed and put it in the conditions that we would work with Public Works on any items they came up with there, including if they felt like there was a need for a traffic light, to do a study for that. And so this is a more zoomed-in view, and you can see all the surrounding neighborhoods from this on the aerial as well as the next map coming in, and really trying to fit into what that fabric is. And I think as you see our site plan, we'll be able to walk you through the densities and how we transition through the site, and we're able to save a lot of open space. And we got a lot of input from the public about how to do the plan and how best to make that. As we looked at our meetings, we started way back in April on this project, started engaging staff at that time at the end of April, 1st of May, and then we started getting into community meetings around June. We had a first meeting, we came before that meeting with a plan, and we got a lot of comments, and we came back to the second meeting with a revised plan with less density and a lot of the items that are in the conditions now. And then even after that next meeting, we listened more, and then those are the items that you see before you now, and I'll walk through those as we go through the presentation. So as you see, as staff said, the big driving force when we looked at this, especially as single-family detached, is that it's in a regional activity center, which promotes really high density. So we're on the absolute lowest version of that. We're at 2.8 units per acre, which is a very low density, and even with single-family detached, it's still considered a very moderate density. And as you can see, we're right in the middle of that location. And then as you go to the future land use map, we're almost surrounded by PUDs. There is one Presley Mill Park that is right below us and adjacent to us, but it was platted in 2004, and the regs were a little bit different then. But everything, all the other subdivisions that we're comparable to are PUDs, and in the same format as us, being single-family detached. And for all those reasons, all the maps, all the character area, all the different items that come from the city to go by, we're right down the middle of all those in our plan that we are presenting tonight. And so this was the plan from several years ago. As you can see, it had 396 units. It had senior apartments, it had townhomes, and it had only one size small lots, and it had lots all over the different site. And what we heard was absolutely no apartments. We heard absolutely no townhomes, no condos, anything like that. And then we just want single-family detached, and does it have to sprawl so much over the entire site? And so we took that information, and when we met back in July, this was our initial proposal. And so we're at 268 units. We had it stretching across to the two different parts, so two different access points onto Timber Ridge. And the comments that came back were a lot of stuff focused on access out on Presley, about the fencing, how are we going to match the architecture out on Presley Mill, how are we going to match the columns, the sidewalk system to get you around, what is the interior going to look like, how is the amenity, and how are we protecting the borders of the site. And then also the gas line was another big item. And so this was our new plan, which we're presenting tonight. We dropped the units down to 238, and as we mentioned, this is a gross 2.38 and still only 3.3 if you take out all the land and flood and stream buffers. And so when you're looking at this plan, the biggest thing is we're almost up to 40% open space. And I'll show you a couple of slides that demonstrate what that is. But on the top portion, we're leaving that completely alone. And so whether that is going to be just HOA land undisturbed, that is a huge buffer to the entire north and to the east, or if that's something in the future that could be park space, it's being proposed and in our conditions that will be undisturbed in our plan, and it's almost 10 acres of usable up where that gas line was. And so we're totally staying away from the gas line. We've consolidated everything. We've taken all of our largest lots, put them on the outside of the project. We've created buffer away from Presley where we're a minimum of 80 feet, but most of those first lots are about 150. Moved away from Timber Ridge and only have lots, so you really just have these little peaks into the project and not very wide. And then as you go to the back, stormwater was a really big deal on this. And so how much stormwater control do we have, the ponds and everything on it? And as you go to this plan, that's where you can see it. So we tried to generate this plan, color it up so everybody could see it on an aerial for what we're really getting. And so you can see the mixture of the lots. We have almost a 1.5 acre amenity area with all the upscale amenities that we talked about. The stormwater ponds are large enough that we should make a really solid impact in not having any downstream issues. There are a lot of downstream flooding issues that come from the west back toward the east, and so we wanted to make sure our ponds were large enough that we can actually make a difference there for this entire site, because it's 83 acres, and that's what makes the site seem, you know, it seems like it's bigger because it is just a larger acreage, but we're really doing what we can to protect that. We moved everything away from the edges, from the subdivision on the south, the church on the east, the senior center on the west. Everything has been moved out from that as you look at the plan. And I tried to kind of zoom in on a couple places so you can see this is where we have all the wider lots, and this is where we have all of our buffers so that we're basically taking care of any of the adjacent neighbors and what we're trying to do there. And this shows you where we have almost the 37% up to 40% of the open space. And then this is kind of another picture to show everything that's highlighted in that picture. And I tried to give you guys hands out. I understand, I've been in front of you guys so many times, I know it's hard to see on the back side, so I tried to give the handouts to be able to see it. So that is the total amount that we are, you know, kind of consolidated in. You can see the buffers on the creeks, and those are 75 feet from the creek, so you can see that our back of our lots are even another 50 to 70 feet away from those creeks. And so we really tried to consolidate everything and use the PUD for what it's intended for. It's not that we, you know, are doing an R2 and trying to use every inch because we have to. You know, we're targeting a buyer that wants a lock and go concept, not a big yard to maintain, and consolidate and create a ton of open space for the community and still have very nice large square footage homes. These are the conditions. I went through them last night. I won't go through them again, but I wanted to make sure, because in our site plan, we list some of the minimums. So the PUD minimum is 1,400, but we're stipulating 1,800, and then the houses go up and over 3,000. The price points, 320 up and over 400, especially as you add basements, they really go up from there. And so we wanted to make sure that everything we really talked about that we put into the stipulations, the 238 on the homes, the cementous material, all the rental restrictions, that was another big topic when we talked to the neighborhood that we were really going through. And we've got an exhibit that Neville will go over as he goes through the product and what he's done in his career and why it's an important project. But you'll really see that our density is either lower or right at the surrounding densities. And as you start looking to the west at some of the assisted and the senior facility, we're, you know, an eighth of that density. And so I'll hand it over to Neville to run through the product as well as some additional information on the project.
Thank you, Ken.
Mr. Allison, I'll remind you before you start, if you would please give us your name and address for the record. That way I don't have to interrupt you.
Yes, sir. Neville Allison, 3500 Lennox Road, Atlanta, Georgia. I'm the managing partner of the Revive Land Group. It's really excited to be here before you this evening. Last night I was asked how many years I'd been doing this, and you know, off the cuff, I was trying to count in my head, and I came up with 16 years. It's actually been 18 years, which makes me feel a little old. I've developed over 10,000 lots in my career, transacted on $2.5 billion worth of real estate. Unfortunately, this is all I know how to do, and probably all I'll ever do. We approach every one of our developments with the ethos of trying to mirror a municipality's comprehensive plan, your guidebook for an area, with the wants and the desires of the existing neighborhood. Essentially, we want to follow what you guys want us to do, and we also want to follow what the neighbors want to do. We want to fit in. And so this was a tough one in that it's designated regional activity center. Right out of your comprehensive plan is to provide for areas that can support a high intensity of development. And that's what you see around it. You see, you know, assisted living centers, senior multifamily, 20 plus units per acre. Well, I think that's kind of what the previous developer had tried to do with the site plan of 396 units. Clearly that project was not well received and had to be pulled back. And what we tried to do, we had the advantage of coming second and learning from their mistakes. We met with the neighborhood first, and that's where we showed them this 260-unit plan, which was about a 30% reduction in density. Once we got that feedback, we reduced it even further to a 40% reduction in density. I think the best comment I received last night from the planning commissioner, Mr. Van, was, so let me get this straight. The previous developer had 396 units. You have 238. That's about half of what the previous developer was doing. We don't see that very often. Is that your intent? And I said, yes, sir. That's exactly what we're trying to do. As a developer, more is always better. But in this particular case, the lower density, I think, is really important. To Ken's point, the surrounding densities are actually higher than what we're asking for. Directly to the south, we've got a board here, it didn't make it into the slides, but I can do it from the map. On the subdivision directly to our south is Kingston Gate. That's developed at 3.4 units per acre gross. Directly to our northeast is Slater Mill. That's also a 3.45 units per acre density. Benton House to our west is 14 plus units per acre, and a recently approved senior living to the northwest is at, I think, 7 units per acre for that one. As a reminder, we're at 2.8 gross units per acre. I think that's significant. It's what's lower than all the existing PUDs. The only subdivision in the area that we're adjacent to that is at a lower density is Presley Park. There are approximately half-acre lots there to our south. As Ken mentioned, that subdivision was platted in 2004. They've had one home sale in the last 3 years, and they're only halfway through. They've got 15 vacant developed lots in there. It just shows that that's not necessarily what the market wants here in this area. A product's always a concern. Hey, what are these houses going to look like? And so we've got some pretty good renderings of the product here. As we mentioned, we're going to start at 1,800 square feet. The PUD minimum is actually 1,400 square feet. The homes in Kingston Gate, several of them are smaller at 1,500 to 1,600 square feet. So we're trying to go above and beyond what's there. 1,800 square feet all the way up to 3,000 square feet. It's not another one of the advantages of the PUD and kind of our design in that we don't have just one cookie cutter lot. We're trying to do 3 different lot sizes with 3 different products to hit an entire breadth of price point and housing type. What that allows us to do is move through the project faster. Instead of having one product sell over 20 or 30 or 40 units a year, we can have all 3 products sell at 30 units a year and try to get up to that 90 to 100 units a year and absorb the project much faster. We've got brick stone elevations with all hardy plank and cedar shake. And there's another example of the larger houses. I think, that's really all I wanted to talk about. I think one last point to bring up is it's not uncommon to have opposition when we come up here for these developments. Change is scary for folks. It's been undeveloped land for a long time. Some people want to keep seeing it that way. But it's private property, and those folks have property rights to go after the highest and best use. It's also not uncommon to have support for a project. But what is uncommon is to have that support come to the public hearings. Most of the time, the people that come, it's because they have to voice a concern or opposition. And the folks that are okay with the project, they stay at home and watch Jeopardy. That's what I would be doing. But I think you're going to see tonight, and certainly if you've heard about last night, we had several of the surrounding HOAs come and speak in support of our project, which is one of the things I'm most proud of. So with that, we'll save the rest of our time for rebuttal and answer your questions. In summary, we have the HOA supports around us. We have your professional planning staff support of recommendation, and we were unanimously approved by the Planning Commission last night. So we'd respectfully request your approval, I guess, next week when you guys vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. Thank you, Mr. Allison. We appreciate that. This being a public hearing, then we need to give time to those that would speak. I will, first of all, open the floor to see if any of our council or Madam Mayor have any questions for the applicant. In the essence of time, if there are questions, I'll recognize Coach Watts first.
I probably will have more before it's all said and done, but one of the questions about the sidewalks on Presley, and this may be more of a question for city manager, but y'all, there's already sidewalks from around the corner, Timber Ridge, right there, that professional building on the corner goes by Benton House. Will y'all's sidewalk connect to the one that's there? I don't know what would be involved in that, but it would be nice if they connected up.
So we've talked about that a lot. We are definitely connecting to Benton House. There was a lot of discussion about when you get to the office on the corner, I don't know if it was developed before the sidewalk, but it like ends, the sidewalk kind of ends.
Right.
There's been a lot of discussion, but our entire frontage sidewalk does connect over to Benton House. There's right of way to do that. And so that connection all the way over would be made. And so that's why we were wanting to have that, so that if, there's a school up there, anything that, in terms of walkability would have, but we are connecting.
And in the same vein, the sidewalks were specifically mentioned that won't be installed on Timber Ridge and will be installed on Timber Ridge. I'm
Sure.
trying to picture it in my mind, so
Sure.
I'm imagining Timber Ridge's access into the subdivision. So south of there, y'all are going to sidewalk?
Yeah, so what, and we're open to anything, but what we were suggesting is, we kind of see Timber Ridge and Presley as a corner to be connected with sidewalks because there's a lot of activity. Once you go down Timber Ridge, you start bombing down there, and it just feels like that road wants to remain. I know y'all approved the assisted up on the higher ledge, and the rest of it's going to be undisturbed. It just feels like that wants to remain kind of a country or filling road. And so we were proposing just from our entrance to the left so that there can be that future connection. If anybody can get the office to make that connection, there'd just be a little bit of sidewalk left to make the entire loop. But once you turn from our entrance going down toward the creek, that was where we were not proposing sidewalks along that frontage because we weren't sure if, I can't remember if it may be back when Patrice was here, but we had discussion about, is that really where we want to encourage sidewalks to go? And like I said, we're open to anything, but that's what we were proposing, is not to take it up that stretch because it's all going to be undisturbed on our site. And we weren't sure if that was what you wanted to encourage people to walk that way down the hill.
And will there be a turning lane? Because Timber Ridge is a cut through, a lot of traffic that's coming through there on its way to the light and interstate. So I was wondering about turning lanes coming in and out of the subdivision.
We'll have both. So we are proposing a decel into off Timber as well as a left turn into the site off Timber.
All right, thank you. That's all I have for now.
Thank you, Coach Watts. Others? Madam Mayor, we'll just go down to, Mr. Miller, did you have something?
Might in a minute.
Okay, go ahead, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much for the presentation. It was really comprehensive, and we appreciate you working with the community. I did have a question in the same vein as Councilman Watts when he asked about traffic patterns. Do we have a DRI or anything from ARC that talked about the impact, if it was going to be
No,
detrimental?
this one did not meet the thresholds, but
Okay.
there was a third-party traffic study done on the site. There was also a traffic study that we did as well with A&R Engineering, who does a ton of traffic studies around the area. And they concluded that as a single-family home, that it was not going to have everything was going to remain A, B, and C, nothing
Okay.
dropped to a D, E, or F. And so the levels weren't there. It actually did not recommend the turn lanes, but we were proposing them just because we know it's easier to clear traffic.
Okay, very good, because Brighton Academy, was not
Yes.
very far from
Yes.
proposed development. And so at times taking kids to school and picking them up and,
So one
all of
thing
that.
that's really important that came up, and it was actually one of the neighbors, Rita, that reminded me of it is the interesting thing about this that's going to be a big help in the AM and the PM, actually the early PM, is that the high school for this district is north, not south. I think everybody was thinking the high school is to the south. So I think it's New Manchester. Okay, and so that would be taking a right and heading away from that direction. And so I think for the longest of time, as we were looking at the traffic, we were thinking everybody was going to be pushing south, for school, but it's actually not the case. And so we were thinking that was a big difference for that.
Yes, sir. That charter school is the only one I was referring to on the corner.
On the corner, yes. We had talked, they came to the community meeting, and we were able to hear what time they let out and the daisy chain they create in terms of with the police officer and the way they circulate and everything. Our entrance being further down, and with the access being able to come from here in multiple ways to get to the access on Presley, we're hoping that that's not, as big of an ordeal, because it lets out a little bit earlier or at the same time as other schools. And so, by the time they're done with their, kind of letting out, it'd be the time someone would pick up from somewhere else and then head back this way. And so we're hoping there's not going to be that cross issue. But in looking at the traffic studies, we've taken everything into account with us having the 2 access points and all the turn lanes and the ability to create new stop signs there at the full access point. The traffic study did not show that we were causing any issues out there.
Okay, it seems like it'll be controlled with those remedies that you're putting in place.
That's correct. That's
All
correct.
right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, did you have a comment?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair, I do. I do appreciate what your approach to the project. I do like a lot of what you've incorporated as far as the site plan and having the 2 entrances, I think, is very critical in terms of controlling and dispersing traffic to a certain extent. Sidewalks obviously are a must. I also appreciate the fact that you've gridded it for the most part. You don't have, there's no cul-de-sacs and there's no little areas where people get lost trying to cut through, which oftentimes happens. My criticism would be really not, of course, is go to the design. I can't help myself.
Right.
One of your important points that you're making is the sales point of 300 to 400K. And that's fantastic if that's what you're going to get for them. And I can't speak to the market because it's a little crazy now, and there's all sorts of, and who knows what it's going to be down the road in a couple of years. But the designs you're showing are for the most part, one-sided brick. And speaking as a designer, there's something inherently unnatural seeing any kind of building that has brick on one side and siding on the other, when brick stops and then picks up another material. I think that kind of tends to cheapen the look a little bit, and I think you're going to have a little trouble selling at your price point with that type, because that has a certain salience in the market for houses. I would recommend, if you're going to mix the materials, that you go with brick, like a brick first floor, and then wrap it around 3 sides at least, and then let the siding go above that. So you can still
You bring around the water tables and some different.
Keep a water table at the bottom rather than stopping the brick on the side, because it really doesn't make for a good look.
And he's already had, Neville already has a part, one of the largest national, builders, and so they're extremely flexible with their products. Anything like that where they're, bringing water tables and everything to add that accent, and bringing, up in the eaves where you're trying to bring board and bat to the sides. I mean, all that we've already talked to them is doable.
Yeah, I mean, you're not spending any more money. You're not adding more brick. You're just taking the brick and putting it in a different location.
Right.
And I think it makes for a much better, much stronger design. It makes a more desirable looking house.
Right.
I wish there was something you could do about the garages in the front. I mean, that goes back to the whole site plan and the site, putting alleyways or something like that in there to get rear or side entrances. But
yeah, I mentioned, Neville and I, we talked about this a lot, from the design standpoint, and this site, because as you've seen, I try to do rear load on a lot of stuff with the urban style. This site in particular, as we started squeezing in the comments from the neighbors about preserving that entire park area and pulling away, when we started looking at adding alleys in there, we started, the amount of impervious and the expansion, it kind of started losing the kind of that suburban. We kind of felt like this was going to be like a cool little kind of, very, very, very notched into all that undisturbed area. And so that was the reason to stick with the front loaded and really just mix the sizes within it.
Well, I think you've shadowed the entrance, the human entrances, which is, I suppose, is appropriate, because that way you're not trying to compete, design-wise, you're not competing with the garage
right.
entrance. It just, that's always unfortunate. We have so many houses today, the garage is your front door, and just, it is
Right,
what it is.
right,
I get that.
Right, and I know the renderings are deceiving, and I talk to every client builder I have about their renderings, and we even try to change them sometimes, because they always end up building more of a carriage style door, or a garage that doesn't look like what it looks like in that picture. And so they always try to make the garage doors look a lot better with the different barn and different styles.
I don't have anything against the carriage style door. I mean, if you want to go with a nicer level garage door, that would be, I mean, if the garage is going to be the front door, let's make it a nice looking door.
Right.
Let's go all out as far as
That's
that goes.
right.
So I would that would be appreciated if you could make a nicer garage door.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
So, my suggestions.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes, others? Anyone else?
Just a comment to say that it's been, this is very, very detailed. It's put together very well. And I'm sure the residents in the area are going to be very pleased.
Thank you, Ms.
You're welcome.
Danley. Anyone else? Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Estes.
I'm going to reserve full judgment till I hear from the surrounding residents, but I mostly have kind of a rhetorical question that I don't mean to be any comment on this particular development. But just out of curiosity, has there ever in history been a traffic study that came back saying that there was going to be a problem with traffic? Every single study I've heard comes back saying there's going to be no or negligible at most impact of traffic. Anyway, that's no comment on you guys. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
Your sister's beautiful.
Any other comment? Any other, let's move along, please. Any other question or comment? Ms. Miller, did you have one?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for the presentation. The detail is wonderful I know for me trying to go through it and understand everything, and I do like the layout of it, and I really appreciate that you guys have reached out to the community to work with them and to change the development so that it can fit into the neighborhood better. I do have to echo somewhat of what Councilman Terry Miller said as far as the design aspect of it. With your smaller houses, right around 1,800 square foot, if that's the starting price point, I would think was around $320. Is that what it said? And that would have the houses around $180 a square foot, which is still a bit of a stretch in our neighborhood. We're still, most of your properties like around the $125, and some of your nicer, like your high-end homes, are going to get closer to the $150 mark. And so these seem a little basic for that price point, I believe. And I know you guys said that the final product would come out a little better than these renderings are as far as the garages. I know everyone had rather see a side entry versus the front entry garage and some of the detail.
Yes, ma'am. So as far as the price per square foot, a lot of that it's difficult to comp off of. We do very detailed CMAs. Some of that stuff that is at the lower price per foot are older homes. They have and by older, I mean, if they were built in 2005, that's approaching 20 years old now. And so you have a non-modern floor plan with kitchens not open to living rooms, not great rooms. You have a lot of yellow, you have a lot of brown cabinets, different things that drive that price per foot down. And so a new construction home, it's not only new with a warranty, but it has kind of all of those latest and greatest with the white countertops and stainless steel appliances and all those things that push that price point up. And so one thing to keep in mind is, we could put gold brick on the outside of the houses and make them look as nice as possible. But what that does is take away money that we can spend on the inside of the house, from, anything from tankless hot water heaters to energy efficiency stuff, stone countertops, site finished hardwoods, all those different things that you can put on the inside of a home that really push that price point. Councilman Miller, if your comment about the sides of the homes, I couldn't agree more. When you have a 100-foot lot where you can see the side of your home, I think it's incredibly important, the elevation that's there. And this sort of cluster, single-family development where the homes are closer together, I completely agree. I think a water table is a great idea. But as far as putting brick all the way up to the second or third floor, or second floor in this case, you don't really get your bang for your buck as far as that's concerned. Side entry garages, again, completely agree. They're gorgeous. But unfortunately, you need a 90-foot lot to have a turning radius for side entry garage, and that ends you back, even above R2 at an R1 zoning, and not getting the density to meet the future land use plan here. But all of your comments are well received, and I appreciate them.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Yes, Mr. Davis, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I want to thank the gentlemen for not giving up, because when you came a long time ago, you got beat up pretty bad. But thank you all for coming back and with this project, and you did your due diligence. Thank you.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, for your patience. The only thing I was going to make a comment that hopefully this is encouraging and optimistic for the proposed project is that Gateway Village, starting at 300 plus, they are selling. There are lots that have not even been built yet, and I rode through there a couple of weeks ago, and those homes are selling like hotcakes. So, and they're continuing to build in that area, and their price point starts at 300, and I know that square footage was like 1,500 square feet and above. So, and that's on the northern part of the city of Douglasville. So hopefully, if this is approved, it'll be the same way. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, thank you. Okay. I think everyone has had the opportunity to make a comment, so we're now going to open the floor to those individuals that would like to come forward and speak, first of all, in favor of. We'll have time for both, but if you would like to speak in favor of this application, please come forward, give us your name and address for the record, and we would love to hear from you. Is there anyone here that would speak for the application? Please come forward.
I'm Dan Holtz. I live at 9157 Saddlebrook Way in Saddlebrook Estates. I'm the president of the HOA there, and I just want to commend the developers and everybody on working with our communities. I attended the July meeting, also the June meeting. The difference between the two proposals, which you've seen, is marked. We were very, very pleased. I think all of the HOAs that came to those meetings were very pleased with the way the developers listened to what our concerns were. What we see now as a final product, we think this is probably the best option available for our neighborhood along Presley Mill, and we're very supportive of the proposal that's being put forth, and we thank the developers for what they're coming up with. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Someone else, please come forward. Speaking in support of the application. Good evening, Ms. Harper.
Good afternoon. My name is Rita Harper. I live at 9044 Bond Street, Kensington Gardens, gated community, and I remember the 2.5 years that we spent fighting this. I fought it really, really hard. So I know I'm a face that you've seen before. I thank you, Mayor. I thank you, Councilman, for allowing us to have this session so that we can talk and explain what we have gone through also. Our HOAs at Kensington Gardens, due to the COVID, and I'm really aware of this because I spent a week in the hospital with COVID and pneumonia, et cetera, for 7 days. So how we technically contacted our homeowners was through email and text. So as opposed to, and I know some people were shaking their head when we said the community has been informed, we have informed through email, through text. through communication where we could 6 feet apart, et cetera. We did talk, and we have gone through a lengthy discussion. We went to both the meetings, one in June the 16th, 2021, and then at the Conference Center, July 22, 21. We are very pleased and very accepting of what has been accomplished with the group that wants to develop this property now. The Kensington Garden Board met weekly after we had that final July meeting. And it's our position, after receiving the developer's proposed plan, we voted to support the development. However, we would like to know, Neville, I forgot to ask you this, will there be some single homes?
Ms. Allison, I'm sorry, Ms. Harper, speak to us, and then he can answer the question, because we can't, we can't hear you if you step away from the podium there, okay?
I'm sorry. But what I'd like to know, everything that we asked, but I had a senior moment and forgot to just ask, everything that we've been shown has been 2-story, but they are going to, in the peripheral area, have larger lots. Can there be some just one level for older people like me that would like to not go up some stairs? And I forgot to ask that. We do support it, but that is an interjection that I'd like to add to this.
Ms. Harper, are you asking that there be a condition, that there be a certain percentage of the property in the peripheral lots that have to be single-story?
I'm not demanding. I'm just asking if that is an option. I think at this point, we are definitely in approval of what they are doing. They've worked really hard with the community, with the HOA boards, and they came back not just once, but twice and 3 times, and cutting and trying to provide what we had requested. And so what I'm saying at this point is I would love to see that as an option. I would like to just make that a question coming to the committee. But as it stands now, the board, Rita Harper, President, Bobby Chapman, Vice President, Elaine Shattuck, Secretary, George Bullino, Treasurer, we do approve, and we are excited about what will go into that area. One thing that the traffic that was talked about, I know my husband was a principal at Lithia as well as at Douglas County. And when I looked into the schools and the access, these homes will be going out, not into the city area, but out to New Manchester and out to those schools. So when the buses and the people that will be taking their children will come out Timber Ridge, go to the right, and they're going to be, that influx will be away from the city as opposed to right in and causing more of a complex situation. But as stated before, Kensington Garden gated we approve with what they have. Just wanted to add that one exception question.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Someone else? Do we have anyone else to speak in support of this item? Seeing no one, then we will ask if there's anyone that would like to speak in opposition to the item. The same rules. Come forward, give us your name and address for the record, and we would love to hear from you at this time.
Good afternoon. My name is Scott Daniel. I reside at 5825 Wembley Drive, Douglasville, Georgia, Kensington subdivision, right down the road. The first thing I would like to do is thank Madam Mayor Robinson and our other council members for your time and service and putting up with a lot of angry folks from time to time. I brought some issues before Planning and Zoning last night, and I just wanted to recap some because I don't feel like my questions were properly answered, and I still have some concerns. And most of those are concerning zoning requirements on hearing notice. And I brought those issues at the Planning and Zoning Commission last night. It was stated to me that the commission is exempt from the 15-day rule requirement by OCGA state law, OCGA 26-66-4. In my opinion, they have not met the 15-day rule. I brought that before P&Z, and I was told that P&Z is a recommending body and that they are exempt from any type of notice. I don't know. OCGA 2666-4 requires at least 15 days notice, but not more than 45 days. And I'm sure you know this, especially our attorney. It requires that proper notice be provided in the local legal organ, which in our case is the Douglas County Sentinel. The corrected advertisement, this was advertised two times on the front of Presley Mill Road. The first time it was advertised, we had a different land lot, we had a different 3 or 4 other items that was presented along the front drive. So I have concerns about some of those things. It was first posted back for a September 8th meeting, and several folks noticed that the land lots were not the land lots the posting was on, and made calls to council members, planning and zoning folks and all that. And the meeting notice was changed. Now, we were told that the meeting notice on Presley Mill was changed on September the 1st. I did not see the meeting notice change until September the 2nd, when it was advertised as a change in the Douglas County Sentinel. I'm sorry, September the 8th. So on the basis of that change, I don't feel as if the 15-day due notice was properly given. And I've asked the clerk to make some copies of that law. Here again, way over my salary level. So the corrected advertisement was put in September the 2nd. In my opinion, September the 2nd is not a day that you can count towards the 15-day rule, but I know the attorneys can look at that and determine that for us. So we have not met the 15-day requirement on Presley Mill to let local folks know about this meeting last night and tonight. And I think from some of the lack of people in the boardroom tonight, that may be a result of that. So I propose that the posting time has not been sufficient to bring before the City Council and certainly should not be acted on this month or Monday night until proper notice has been given. Again, it was advertised on September the 2nd. The other issue that I want to bring forward tonight is this project is called Somerset at Timber Ridge. It just flashed in front of me. However, there is no notice petition posted along Timber Ridge on this development in any form or fashion. So as a result, I have concerns that the folks further down Timber Ridge in different neighborhoods may not have known about this meeting or any of the other meetings, and therefore did not attend. The current posting that is on Presley Mill, if you stop along the edge of the road, park in the grass, which there is no sufficient ditch drainage scenario there, get out of your vehicle, hopefully not get hit by oncoming traffic on Presley Mill, and walk over to the sign, you can see the letters, and I have a picture if anyone would like to see it. You can see the letters if you walk up on the signage at that point. City of Douglasville, Douglas County, we can do better. We can put 3-inch letters, but I'll attack that in just a minute. I'm sorry?
Mr. Daniel, if you could bring your comments to a close, your time has expired.
Well, I'm sorry. I apologize. Many other scenarios. I've got 3 pages of things to go out. And I applaud the HOAs that got the word out to their neighborhoods. I have several neighbors in my neighborhood that never received any type of notice. And I may just address this. As far as public participation meetings that were allegedly held on June 16th and July 22nd, we have all types of media outlets to get this information out. So nothing was provided to other citizens, taxpayers, I might add, about these meetings unless you were a member of an HOA. If you live in a house that's not currently being served by an HOA board, then you were flat out of luck. You didn't hear anything about it, and it's a moot point. So I have the information about OCGA. I would encourage you. I believe in quality development. I'm all for quality development, but I'm also about transparency. Again, I commend the HOA boards that...
Thank you, Mr. Daniel.
Thank you very
Yes, sir.
much. I would hope you would consider this and postpone it.
Anyone else that would like to speak in opposition to this application, please come forward.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Mayor Robinson and council, thank you so much for allowing me to speak. And thank you to the developers from what you did a few years ago when we opposed it. It is better. However, I want the council.
Ma'am, you know the rules. Could you give us your name and
Torenia
address for the record?
9432 Woodlawn Drive, right across the road from
Thank
where
you.
they're
Thank
proposing.
you. I'm sorry.
One of the things that I would like the council to really consider is the 238 lots, and those houses that you saw had garages. Now think about this. Most garages, most houses have at least 2 drivers, at the very least. So we're talking about over 450, almost 500 cars. If you're like me, you have a house of 5 drivers, and so we have 3.5 cars. One is not totally working, but it'll get you to Kroger and back. And the study that the development did, it was done in July. So Councilman Estes, you got a good point, right? That traffic study was done when there was no school in session, Mayor. They're proposing that most people will go back to the left. Well, you do have 3 subdivisions to the left that will all spill out on Presley Mill. That's a 2-lane road. It's just like Chapel Hill. It's just not enough roadage to consider all of these families. And I want these families in Douglas County. Y'all know we do. We want the tax base, but we want a quality of life. So I ask that you consider, I ask the developers to please consider not putting 238 units onto Presley Mill and Timber Ridge. It is entirely too many units for what we have developed there. We just don't have the roadage. We just don't have the infrastructure. It's going to tax us. It's going to tax our public service, our public works, right? And even though we're going to get the tax base from those houses, we're probably going to end up costing us more in infrastructure to finally get that right. I am trying desperately to get the county and the DOT, the feds, to work with us to widen Chapel Hill. That, I have heard, has taken over 30 years, and we're still just trying to buy up right away for some relief and from the congestion on Chapel Hill. I don't want to see that along Presley Mill, where you have a lot of families. I just ask that you reconsider, the developers, just to reconsider what you're going to do to the families and the HOAs and the houses that my neighbor just talked about, who don't even know that you're coming. They don't know. And they reached out to me, and I didn't even know because I didn't see the sign, and I pass it every day. So I had people reaching out to me thinking it was the county, and it's the city. And I said, well, you can go online. And I had someone to text me and said, no, we can't. We put it in online, but we can't speak online. You have to be in person this time. And so I have several people who would love to be here. I got here from work, coming from Noonan. I just ask that you please reconsider. 238 units right there where you have the church, you have Kensington, you have Presley Park, you have Saddle Ridge. Then to the right of that, you have Benton House. We just added Oaks, the senior living facility. Right across from that, you have Brighton Academy. Right across from that, you have the church, and you have West Georgia. And then across from that, you have what used to be Strayer University, which they're now redoing, and we have the Jobs Center inside of that building. It's a lot of traffic, a lot of cars, and a lot of congestion for where we are right now. Those are my comments. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Carthen. Is there anyone else? Do we still have time, Madam Clerk? We do have time. Anyone else that would come and speak in opposition to this application? Okay. I wanted, if possible, before we have the applicant to close with any closing comments about what has been said, to ask our counsel, can you clarify for us the rules and how the advertising that Mr. Daniel had spoken of, how that has been rectified and corrected, and if it was done in a timely manner to where the time has run, understanding now that this is my opinion, the Planning Commission is not the voting body, okay? And we do also have another public hearing prior to our time of allotted vote for this on Monday. So we are required, I understand, council, we're required to have one, but we have two, correct?
That is correct, Chairman Adams.
Please help us.
The OCGA section 36-66-4A requires that a local government taking action resulting in a zoning decision to have that notice publication in the legal organ at least 15, but not more than 45 days prior to the date of the hearing. Now, that does not apply to the proceedings today because you all, as Madam Mayor had explained at the get-go, today's proceeding is not a voting session. There will not be any actions taken. And as far as the Planning Commission meeting goes, that Planning Commission was a recommending body. It would recommend this project to you all for you all to take action on Monday, which is September the 20th. My understanding is that the correct notice went out on September 2nd that included the public hearing date of September 20th, and it had also included the place and purpose of the hearing in that September 2nd publication. Therefore, the notice requirement will be met when you all have the public hearing again on Monday.
Okay.
Now, with regards to the placing of the signage, the state statute only requires that it be in a conspicuous location. I've not personally been to this particular property, so I do not know where it's placed, but the state statute does not require that the notice or the signage to be placed at all entrances. It just needs to be somewhere conspicuous.
Okay. Thank you. Are there other comments? Yes, Coach Watts, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Going back to a couple of my earlier questions had to do with sidewalks and roads. One of my concerns, and this is probably maybe a county issue, I'm not sure. You go down, everybody that's coming up and down Timber Ridge right now is using it as a cut through. To get to 92 and to the interstate, there's a stop sign and a red light right there on Fairburn Road. And as we develop, that area is an issue now if you ever go through there, and I go through there all the time. So I don't know what can be done about that, at all, but that's something that's going to have to be addressed when we talk about infrastructure and things like that. That's going to have to be looked at.
We can look at that, Councilman Watts, and get back with you on some possibilities on Monday.
Thank you. That's all I had for now.
Okay. Madam Mayor?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Just listening to the citizens, you can come forward. I was going to ask a question about availability to the citizens in the surrounding subdivisions.
Sure.
If everyone did receive information and/or when you had the meeting at the conference center, was it on our social media page or to the city manager?
Go ahead. These were private meetings, Mayor. We
Okay.
did assist early on in the beginning, but as you all recall, we don't get engaged with developer meetings. This is all on the developer to do that, to get that information out.
Okay.
Yeah, and for us, so obviously, staff sends out letters, does their thing. For us, we took what we learned the last time, everybody that came out last time. And so we thought, we're not obviously trying to hide anything. I mean,
Yes,
we're,
sir.
you know, as transparent as we can be about what we're building, putting it into stipulations and saying this is exactly what we're doing. And so that whole time, we reached out to the HOAs because that's, you know,
That's the way
anywhere
to
we
get
go, that's usually how you get information out. Because if we go to one individual person, we don't know who they know. And so
Right.
we did what we thought was the best thing, and there was a great turnout, and they all represented a much larger group. And so we felt like it was a really good outturn in terms of what we had. I mean, we're definitely not trying to hide anything. And as far as any of the postings, it seemed like it was all done. And so as
Okay.
far as from our side, we felt like we did everything we could, you know, to get information
to it.
out. We definitely weren't hiding. We were sending, you know, once we came up with the stipulations, we were sending those to staff. We sent them out, you know, to Regis Group so she could distribute them. So we were just trying to do everything we knew to do, you know, on our side. And then there was some other questions, if I could answer those too.
That was my only question is the chair is
Oh, okay, sorry.
doing traffic.
Sure, go ahead. Yes, sir, go ahead. Were there other questions or comments again?
Yeah, I was
Mr.
going to.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. I was going to comment about the traffic issue as well, because it was, I forget who brought up a good point about the traffic study being done in July, which is in between the school season, and it may be, that may be a valid point to point. I remember many years ago, I was on a planning study or commission in Pittsburgh, and there was a construction project on a bridge, and they did a study and said, you know, we're going to time the lights in a certain way so that, you know, the traffic will flow through, no problem. And they had all the numbers to prove it. What they didn't tell you is that it just pushed the problem down to the next traffic light, which was outside the district, and that's where the problem was. So, you know, when you have you can solve the problem in one space, and you're just pushing the problem down to the next one. You're kicking the can down the road, literally. That you still have a problem. You just have it in a different district or a different ward. So, I would like to hear that issue being addressed.
Sure.
They weren't required to do a
No,
traffic study.
I understand, but
Yes.
I understand that.
Just as a point, and this is a special year in a lot of ways, but you have to realize that COVID has caused us to not be in school for a year. So to the people's point that have been made that there was not a traffic study done and anything that was done in July, it would not have mattered in this particular situation had it been done in March or January or last fall. So I understand the concern there, and I do share the concern because I travel those roads myself. But this particular situation, we do not require for this size development a formal traffic study. And had there been one done, I understand Councilman Estes' concern about have we ever had one that actually showed a detriment to the citizens. And I feel your pain there, Mr. Estes. But in this particular situation, I don't see that regardless of when it had been done, that it would have been beneficial to us.
So one thing I can definitely clear this up, and the way we've been doing them is they actually took the counts in May because we knew that it was coming up. And then the biggest part of this is all through COVID, we have not been doing traffic studies the way that everyone knows traffic studies. And so the way we did it, and we have it even in the report, is we looked at 2018 data that was available for the city of Douglasville and for these roads, including GDOT data for the roads. And so we take that information from 2018, we take the information we collected before school got out, and then we use growth rates to grow that, and we take COVID into consideration that it's not normal and we need to grow it to a more normal rate. And so I will say for this traffic study, and I'm sure as a local you feel it in different ways, right? And the issue with the 238 is it's really low density. It just happens to be a really large tract of land. And that's all it is, and it's scary. It's scary because it's a large tract of land, but it's really not dense. And this is one of the first traffic studies I've been, and like I said, I usually don't see A's, B's, and C's. I usually always see that we're fighting D's, E's, and F's, and how do we make those slight changes. And so with the ability to have the schools on the north, and we took Brighton into account when we did the traffic study. So I really think in the traffic study as well as the third party that we actually did get a good glimpse in terms of what it will be. And that was the reason for the turn lanes and the distribution of the flow. But the way we did the traffic study, we totally accounted for it as if COVID was not a thing.
Thank you. Any other comments? Have we exhausted our time?
The floor is yours, Mr. Chair, so you can decide.
Okay. If there are no other comments, then we will close out this item, and we still have Monday night. So we thank you all for your comments. I do want to say one thing. I want to ask a question. The proposed conditions of zoning, I'm assuming that this was a combination of and evidence from the meetings that you had with the homeowners associations to come in with 15 proposed conditions for zoning. This is something relatively new in our community that we're seeing as the residents, the present residents and homeowners associations are being engaged with the developers. I think it's a great thing, and I think this is evidence, if that is in fact what this is evidence of you all working together to try to come to a solution, as we have heard from those homeowners association members. Is that correct, Mr. Allison?
Yes, sir. That's exactly what happened. Is we had our meetings, we told the neighbors, this is what we were going to do, here's the plan. And they said, well, how do we know that's what you're going to do? So we said, we'll write them down and put them in the zoning code. This is all about land use. That's what you guys are here to vote on, the appropriate land use. And so you want to have conditions that flow with that land.
Okay.
And so we took development criteria from the City of Douglasville's code, feedback from the staff report, and feedback from the neighbors that went above and beyond the first two things to memorialize what we agreed to do.
Okay.
Just real quick to back up onto the traffic study, Ken did a great job summarizing that. We didn't just go out and take counts in July and say, hey, oh, there's no traffic out here. The engineer looked back at the 2018 counts, factored those in, increased the counts that we took most recently with those numbers. With Brighton Academy being out when we did our counts, they took the number of students and ran it through the traffic engineer formula or algorithm to come up with the number of students and therefore the number of traffic, and added that to the counts as well. So it's not just putting our finger up in the air again, trying to hide the ball and pretend there's no traffic out there. We're given accurate counts in the third-party traffic study that we've submitted.
Okay. Thank you all. We appreciate your patience. We appreciate your input. Staff, we appreciate all your work. Gentlemen, we appreciate you coming in, and we will look into Monday night for our next public hearing and go from there. Thank you all. We'll move on to item B. Consider a request for plat approval for the purpose of combining into one lot for a total of 26.422 acres at 1250 Blair's Bridge Road, District 18, Section 2, Land Lot 580, Parcel 6, Land Lot 581, Parcel 2, Land Lot 616, Parcel 1, Land Lot 617, Parcel 2. Application by East Group Properties, LP. Mr. Anderson is going to help us with this item.
Ryan Anderson, 6701 Church Street. This request is associated with a previous rezoning case, PRZ 21003, where the applicant successfully sought approval from Mayor and Council in March 2021 to rezone property from GC to LI. The applicant is required to have the land combined in order to receive the necessary building permits and land disturbance permit to begin construction. City staff has reviewed the application and attachments and has determined that the proposed combination plat meets the requirements of the UDO.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
All right.
Before I open the floor for comment from Mayor and Council, just want to make sure that there is nothing changing in any request here for anything other than taking 4 parcels of land within that 26.422 acres, combining it all into one tax parcel, one piece of land to be developed, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. Questions, comments? Anyone? Okay. If we see none, then we will come back on Monday night and take action on that item. Thank you all. Is there anyone that had comments? Did anyone have any comments?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move along then to item C, our last item. Consider a request for final plat approval for the purpose of subdividing into 2 lots, 16.15 acres at Timber Ridge Drive in Land Lot 54, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 185, application by Hughes Ray Company Incorporated. Mr. Ryan Anderson.
Ryan Anderson, 6701 Church Street. This item is associated with a previous rezoning from R2 to OI. The case number is PRZ 20-0012. It's for the Harmony at Douglas Place Senior Retirement Community, where the applicant received approval from Mayor and Council. And this occurred in November of 2020. The site also received development plan approval in December of 2020. The applicant is constructing an assisted living facility retirement community with 82 units of assisted living and 32 memory care units. The development will be located on Track 2.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Is there anyone here, is there any comments that council or Madam Mayor may have or questions concerning this? This is really just the opposite, Mr. Anderson. We're splitting off into 2 parcels on this item, whereas the last item we were combining 4.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Same piece of property here as far as total size?
Yes, sir.
Now,
Nothing has changed.
one question that I had was, did the development plan that we approved, was it for everything to be located on Track 2 or on Track 1?
On Track 2.
So Track 2 is if you are on Timber Ridge Drive and you see that on the left side of Timber Ridge as you go east, backing up to I-20, Track 2 is what is actually being developed for the Harmony Assisted Living Facility, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. Questions, comments? I've had questions some of my constituents had asked what we had going there, so I want to make sure that everyone understands that. No question or comment? Gee, I think you all got the memo. Okay, we'll take this up on Monday night.
Okay.
And we thank you all for your attention. Madam Mayor, that's all that we have tonight.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. You did a wonderful job, and thank you, Mr. Anderson. We'll move on to Public Improvement and Beautification Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We do have one item this evening, and that is to appoint Sarah Patchouli. Am I saying that right? Okay, thank you. To the Keep Douglasville Beautiful Board, Post 6, to serve an unexpired term expiring December 31st, 2021.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Chelsea Jackson, 6695 Church Street. There is currently one vacancy on the Keep Douglasville Beautiful Board for Post 6. We had one individual that currently resigned from that position. You interviewed Sarah Petroselli about a couple of months ago, but chose another candidate to be on another post. So now Ms. Petroselli is interested in serving on the Post 6. And there are no other candidates interested in serving on this board at this time.
Thank you so much for that. Okay. And I'm assuming that we can take this up on Monday. Okay. Did you guys have any questions about this?
I had a quick question.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Ms. Jackson, it's only for 3 months?
Yes. So she is filling an unexpired term. So the individual that resigned had about 3 more months. So in December, I'll come to you all again and ask for her to be reappointed to a 3-year term.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you so much. I heard you said the person resigned. I was just trying to make sure I got everything connected. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Were there any more questions or comments? Guys, being as how there's no one else that has applied for this position, are you guys okay with putting this on the consent agenda? I like it, just doing what I can. All right, thank you. Madam Mayor, that is all I have this evening.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. We'll move on to Public Relations Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Howard Estes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We
You're
have
welcome.
one item on the agenda tonight, and that is to adopt a resolution to recognize Georgia Cities Week, October 3rd through 9th, 2021, and to encourage residents to support the celebration and corresponding activities. And here we have Ms. Emily Hardaway to explain it to us further.
Okay.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Emily Hardaway, 6695 Church Street. This item is to adopt a resolution celebrating Georgia Cities Week. As mentioned, the week is October 3rd through 9th, and the theme for this year is Georgia Cities Shaping the Future. As a reminder, usually we host a field trip for the second graders to visit the city, but due to the school system not allowing field trips because of COVID, we will not be doing that this year. However, we will be sending gift bags to all of the second graders that will include city swag and activity sheets for the kids that have to do with local government. So we will be sending that over to the schools. I also wanted to note that this week will be bookended by 2 different city events that we would encourage the community to come out to and take part in. The first event will be on Saturday, October 2nd, and this is going to be, it'll be held at Hunter Park, and it's going to be parking lot bingo, and it's going to be a Halloween theme. We did an event like this back in the spring, and it was a great turnout and a fun event. It's COVID safe because people can stay in their cars to play, and it's just a really fun night. If anyone wants to participate in that, they can go to the website and register online. The second event, which will be at the end of the week, will be the Douglasville Police Department Fall Festival, held on Saturday, October 9th at the police department. There will be vendors and food and music and that kind of thing. And so we just really want to encourage citizens to join us at either or both of these events and help make Georgia Cities Week a success. And that's all I had.
Thank you, Ms. Hardaway. Do we have any questions or comments? Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Emily. We appreciate the report, and I always ask for themes, so I'm excited to know the theme is shaping cities for the future. Man, we're not going to see the little kids on.
Not this year, no, ma'am.
Those are my buddies. Okay.
I know.
So,
yeah, but I think they really enjoy it because we also made the bags for them last year when they couldn't attend, and I think that they really enjoyed the bags, the little treat bags. So we're going to try to do the same thing this year.
So maybe the police department chief and the fire department could put something in there because they really like seeing touch the trucks, and I don't know if you put a little something in there for little kids. We got some time to think about it. Look at Chief looking at me. You're going to think about it. I'll talk to the fire chief as well, see if we could put, I don't know, a truck or a coloring book or something in there from the police department and the fire department.
They will have an activity book that will have, I think one of the pages has like a sanitation truck. I think there's one page that has like a police car on it, and they have to do some type of activity on the sheet that's involved, that has to do with that department. So it is covered in the activity book they'll be getting.
Okay. And then you were talking about bingo, which was really successful at the park, but also the movies were a big hit as well. So maybe talking to our acting parks director, Mr. Chris Bass, to see if we can maybe stick a movie in there or something about, I don't know what can be talked about with cities, but those were really attended, and people loved it because we were, it was fun. Food trucks and a movie, family movie. It's a good idea. Just a recommendation. I know you have it together, public relations. Thank you, Ms. Emily.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Normally, this would be something that I would suggest would go on to the consent agenda. But since this is public relations and we're talking about advertising this week, I think it should be discussed again on Monday night to get a little bit more attention, if you are open to that, Ms. Hardaway.
Yes, sir. I'll be here Monday night.
All right. Thank you very much. And Madam Mayor, that's all we have this evening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Estes. Thank you, Ms. Emily, as well. We'll move on to Public Safety Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor, one item. Item A, authorize the mayor to sign agreement with the Wheeling Engineering Company, INC, for the Douglasville Police Department subscription to the cloud-based vehicle communication platform and services. Chief Sparks.
What this is, Madam Mayor and Council, Wheeling, the Wheeling Engineering Company is offering us some free equipment and service for 3 years to give us the opportunity to try it out and see and play with it and see if it's something after the 3 years if we want to continue. But they will outfit 14 of our cars, and what it would do, it would allow our captain over support services to remotely monitor our emergency equipment configuration. He will be able to remotely change the blue light pattern of the siren tones. It would allow him remotely to troubleshoot our emergency equipment. It would notify him when our guys are not maybe checking the engine light, and when oil changes are needed, when engine codes are going, they need to check the engine. So it will allow him remotely to just check on each one of our vehicles. So it's something we don't have now. Also, it will warn officers if they are approaching an intersection that is being approached by another officer. So everything will be configured that way. So it's just an opportunity for us to get some equipment, play with it, see if it's something we like. If we don't like it, let it go back.
Chief, is there a cost on this?
No cost.
That's good.
Tried and like it.
How were you
Okay.
chosen?
Councilmember, Madam Mayor?
I do have a question. How were you chosen, Chief, our department?
What now?
How were you chosen
How was I chosen?
to be one of the people?
Companies?
Yes, sir.
Captain Sanders, he knows everybody.
Okay.
You know, if you seen that old movie, the Green Beret, I know you probably, but you know, they had Peterson and Captain Sanders, he's like a Peterson.
Okay.
So he knows and talks to everybody. He talked his way out of a bag. You know, so he's always coming up with something.
5:45 when I was there, roll call, he didn't say a word.
He didn't. Well, I will say that I've had like 2 or 3 officers that really did not like how that went. And I would, you know, not from your standpoint, but from individuals. And, you know, we all have one, and we got 1 or 2, and then so we will have a conversation. But the officers appreciate what's being done. I just leave it right there.
All right, look at,
Okay.
I'm nervous. I'll move on. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other question?
Chief,
Watch, Captain White.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to thank Chief for referencing the John Wayne movie as you were talking there. Appreciate that.
I'm just happy he's not referencing RoboCop.
Okay, anyone else? Moving right along. We'll put this on the agenda for Monday and have further discussions, please.
Consent agenda?
Consent agenda is free.
I see heads nodding, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to put it on the consent agenda.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on then to Recreation, Culture, and Tourism Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're
We have
welcome.
one item tonight. Authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with the Douglasville Convention and Visitors Bureau, Inc. for promotion of tourism, conventions, and trade shows, TCT, and expenditure of TCT funds from the hotel motel tax revenue. Ms. Rosado, it's all yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Samantha Rosado, 12385 Veterans Memorial Highway. In front of you all is our annual agreement between the City of Douglasville and the Douglasville Convention and Visitors Bureau regarding the expenditure of funds from the hotel motel tax revenues. This is a routine agreement that we've presented to you all for the past 4 years.
Thank you, Ms. Rosado. Any questions or comments on this? Madam Mayor?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Rosado, if you can just give a brief synopsis of what, we understand what it is, but for the citizens who may be listening that go to the hotels and motels and want to know what this is inclusive of.
Most certainly. So the city receives 8% in hotel motel tax revenues. And so with the 8%, we spend a portion of it goes, 1.5% goes towards the conference center, 3% goes to general fund, and then 3.5% of it goes towards tourism, convention, and trade show promotion. So that could be assisting with marketing materials, going to conferences, bringing in conventions to the city, the reunion workshop that we host, the bridal show, so different things that we do as a Convention and Visitors Bureau to bring people into the city.
Okay, very good. Now, what about the rental cars, like the Enterprise and all that? Where does that tax go? Is that something different, City Manager?
Yes, ma'am. Rental car tax goes toward the coverage of paying off the debt service for the parking deck.
Okay, yeah, because I knew it used to be together, but now we split it up.
It's 2 separate funds.
2 separate,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. All right, thank you. That's all I had.
Yes, ma'am,
Thank you,
Madam
Mr.
Mayor.
Chairman.
Anyone else have any questions or comments on this item? Well, I see none. I'd like to place this on a consent agenda. I see head nods. Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's all I had tonight under Parks, Recreation, Culture, and Tourism.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Rosado. We'll move on to Technology Committee. That's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business at this time under the Technology Committee.
Thank you, sir. Transportation Committee, chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Danley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight under transportation.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other business to come before committees tonight from council members? I don't see any. City Manager, Mr. Roberts, would you talk to us again about not having cleanup week for fall cleanup?
Yes, ma'am. Due to labor shortages, we are going to be suspending fall cleanup. We're looking at fall cleanup, just like we're looking at all other added services that we provide throughout the city. I mentioned to you all at committees that we had 45 vacancies, but I was updated by the Assistant City Manager via our personnel, our HR Director, that we actually have 50. So that is a significant amount of our workforce. We have approximately about 300 positions at the city and only about 250 full-time positions at the city. So when we're facing labor shortages the way that we are, our main focus at this point is going to be on your basic services and fall cleanup. As much as we love providing that for our residents, it's just going to be a difficult thing for us to be able to do where we are with the amount of vacancies that we have.
Thank you so much, and we hope that citizens have heard that and may just keep it. Mr. Roberts said maybe spring, but we'll see. If spring doesn't turn around, then maybe the next fall, but we appreciate
But they can come to apply for work.
That's true. We can have a short-term hire or something.
No, they can come to apply for full-time jobs for work with benefits.
We can pick up the trash. Okay, thank you so much. We'll go on then, if there isn't any other business, to updates from city staff. Our city attorney, Mr. Joel Dotson.
No business, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dotson. Staff attorney, Ms. Lynn Woodward.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Chief of Police, Chief Sparks.
Yes, we have the Peace Officers for Justice and Accountability meeting, rally at the police department Saturday from 11:30 to about 12:30 and 1. Also this year, we're going to put a job fair on that.
Okay.
We'll have hot dogs and hamburgers out there. So we have other agencies there as well that will have a table out that would have information about law enforcement jobs.
Yes, sir.
So it's a rain or shine. If it's raining, we will go in the building 2, and we'll continue on, and hopefully we have some people that are looking for, they want to make a change and be a servant. Come on out and listen to what we have to offer.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chief, and thank you for everything that you and the department do to keep us safe in the city of Douglasville. We'll move on then to our city manager, Ms. Marcia Hampton.
Yes, ma'am. I will have a report on the Riverside Parkway Bridge from Ms. April McCowan. She just has to make a update to you all. She probably didn't know I was going to call her up. Okay. But as I do that, on behalf of our legal staff and Mr. Anderson, he doesn't know I'm going to say this either, I would just ask, and I think on behalf of our planning committee chair, that we stay to zoning questions related to zoning. If we can do that, please stay clear of development questions or questions that are not germane to things in the application. That would help us out greatly. So as you think of your questions that you want to ask at your second public hearing, just keep in mind that it is a zoning item and we're not yet on development. So I would just add that. The other is in reference to our team meetings and community meetings. You all know this is the first time we've done it since we started the pandemic. So I was happy to be able to come out. I was happy to be able to have some of you all there. I think that, you know, it's always good when the staff members can see the elected officials there. I try to remind our staff members that it is a very rare thing for for a city manager to go to each department and meet with all of the employees and be able to have open dialogue around anything. And for me, I think it's a benefit and allows me to be able to come up with ideas and thoughts about what I can present to you all to make certain that we have a well-balanced staff. And the other, I think it gives you all an opportunity to meet face-to-face with the employees. As the chief mentioned, we always have some challenging children around, but that's okay. We will continue to work with them as well. And we'll be meeting with the Personnel Committee Chair, Finance Committee Chair, and the Mayor on some recommendations that I hope that we can try to combat the challenges that we're having with retention. Again, we're going to look at what we currently have financially, what we're able to do specific to the most hardest hit departments. And, you know, that's across the board, as you can see with the city, but one of the biggest services that have been hit is our sanitation department. So we're going to take a look at that and see what we can do to try to encourage retention. And hopefully those who are here at the city will also be able to encourage, as the chief said, for some people to come and join us, because we are a great place to work, and I'm very proud to be able to lead the staff. So I thank you all for that opportunity and showing up and being able to support the staff.
Very briefly, so we are going to give you a quick overview of the Riverside Bridge Project detour that will be occurring. This is directly related to the polymer overlay that we have to put on top of the asphalt that would be on the bridge, so that's why a detour is necessary. We did know this going into the project, of course, it was just a matter of which dates. So October 4th through 11th, we'll have a detour at Riverside Parkway at Sweetwater Creek Bridge. So with that, you're expecting a delay of both sides, a hard closure and a detour to reroute. Mr. Greg Roberts has also been in the conversation with GDOT staff, as well as with LC Whitford, which is our construction company that will be running the flags and running the notices. We have notified Life Safety. We have actually notified surrounding counties as well. We've notified fire, we've notified police, we've notified school systems, so we are letting people know. We're also going to be working with our community relations team to let not only industries know, but also citizens and users of that specific roadway. We have sent this information also to the Elevate Douglas group, so Breezy and Chris, so they can let industries know. They have a great relationship with the HR teams at Keehee and a couple of other affected industry locations, so that they also can be prepared for 18-wheeler backup traffic and ensuring that those 18-wheelers are routed properly and we have proper turnaround points that are safe for all of our citizens. So any questions, I'm happy to take this. We did receive notice to proceed, so this will happen October 4th through 11th with the project completed February 25th.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. April. Any questions from council members for, yes, sir, Mr.
Just
Estes?
one, just a request. If you could get that to community relations and other departments as soon as possible so we can warn people quickly.
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much.
That is our intent, absolutely.
Wonderful.
Is it on social media, on our social media?
We wanted to inform you before we put anything on
Okay.
social media, just in case, but
Yes,
absolutely,
ma'am.
that's my priority one at 7:59 tomorrow morning.
Okay. She said 7:59.
Getting it in, for
Thank
sure.
you so much, Ms. McCowan. City Manager, you have anything else? Okay, thank you so much. Not having any other updates from city staff. Do we have any staff reports outside of the one that Ms. McCowan has just given us? Okay. Comments from citizens and delegates. If you sustain the meeting and you'd like to speak to us, please come forward. You have 5 minutes to talk to us about anything as relates to the city of Douglasville. When you come forward, please give us your name and address, and we're here to hear any of your concerns, issues. No? Okay. Well, thank you for staff that have come out and didn't have to be here. Ms. Ebony and Mr. Bass, we appreciate you. Mr. Thompson? Sam? Mr. Gregg? Okay. Anything else coming forward? If not, this meeting is adjourned.